all who pass through Vernon with pride and honor. And whereas Chief Wary was a kind, caring, and compassionate leader who was loved by his police department and community. Whereas Chief Wary enhanced the emergency services of Vernon Township and served as Vernon Township OEM coordinator for a decade. And whereas Chief Wary's generosity touched countless lives well beyond the borders of Sussex County. And whereas the mayor and township council of Vernon are proud to honor retired police chief Roy Wary and his life of service to the community. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the mayor and council of the township of Vernon that January 2023 be proclaimed as Chief Roy Wary Month in the township of Vernon. Presented this 9th day of January 2023.
Thank you, Natalie.
Thank
I would like to ask the Weary family to come forward. Somebody get a picture of these beautiful ladies over here. No, don't do that.
Crop him out.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, I would like to entertain a motion to open the floor to public comment. These comments are limited to 3 minutes per person on current agenda items only. Motion made by Council Member Rizzuto, second.
I'll second that.
Second by Council Vice President Bucieri. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the floor is open for public comment. Anybody like to speak? Is there anybody in the skybox?
I have Jessica Palladini.
Mrs. Palladini?
Good evening. I just have a couple of quick questions. Before I ask my questions, though, this may seem irrelevant to you, but it would be a good thing if you would do the kinds of things that you just did in front of the dais so that the public could also see it. Because I personally would have liked to have seen Chief Wary's family getting whatever it was that you gave them. And I'm so very sorry, and I send my condolences to the Wary family. Roy was a great person.
Mrs. Palladini, I just want to answer that question.
Sure.
The Weary family was here and they were broken up by it, and they said that they really didn't want to be photographed or video.
No problem. And
Okay.
like photo ops and like that side, and I just assumed you folks don't realize it. One quick question. There's an item on the bills list for $2,100 for tuition. I'd like to know what employee that's for and what kind of courses.
Says Nicholas Gonzalez.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
It says Nicholas Gonzalez, if you're talking about check number 59067, right?
Nicholas something?
Nicholas Gonzalez. It's on the,
Oh,
it's right above the,
Okay, got it. Okay. Is he a police officer? I'm just wondering what kind of courses he's taking.
So there are certain contractual obligations that we're, I don't know if she can hear me.
I have to move.
Hang on.
It's like
Hang on.
over there. There are certain contractual obligations that we're obligated to pay out, and college tuition is one of them. I believe it's covered in a few of the contracts.
Yes, I know that, but I'm asking for what kind of education?
Each one of the contracts dictates what type of education is allowed to be reimbursed.
I couldn't hear her. I'm sorry.
Because that's the way over there.
Okay, in 1 second.
Sure.
It's this.
That one.
I said that each one of the contracts dictates, as well as the personnel policy dictates what type of education is permitted for reimbursement. So this would be in line with the certain contract that it pertains to.
So you can't tell us what type of course?
I would need to look at the actual backup for it.
Okay, all right, I'll call you at the office one day. That's
That's
it.
fine.
All right, that's it. Thank you.
Is there anybody else in this? Thank you, Mrs. Paladine. Anybody else in the skybox?
I don't see any other hands, Council President.
At this point, I see nobody coming forward to speak. Can I have a motion to close public comment?
Moved.
Motion made by Councilmember Rizzuto. Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Council Vice President Bucieri. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Okay, everybody had a chance to review the bills list? Is there any questions? Okay, okay, we're gonna go to the minutes. December 12th, 2022 executive session minutes. May I have a motion to accept 2012, December 12th, 2022.
So moved.
Motion made by Councilmember Tadrick. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Rizzuto. All in favor? Oh, please call the roll.
Vice President Bucieri,
Yes.
Councilmember Rizzuto,
Yes.
Councilmember Sparta,
Yes.
Councilmember Tadrick,
Yes.
Council President Lynch.
Abstain. December 12th, 2022, regular meeting. May I have a motion to approve regular minutes?
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Council Vice President Bucieri.
Move it.
Second by Councilman Tadrick. Please call roll.
Vice President Bucieri,
Yes.
Councilmember Rizzuto,
Yes.
Councilmember Sparta,
Yes.
Councilmember Tadrick.
Yes.
Council President Lynch.
I abstain.
Motion carries.
Okay, December 20th, special executive session. May I have a motion to accept minutes?
Make that motion.
Motion made by Council Vice President Bucieri. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Rizzuto. You please call the roll.
Yes. Vice President Bucieri,
Yes.
Councilmember Rizzuto,
Yes.
Councilmember Sparta,
Abstain.
Councilmember Tadrick,
Yes.
Council President Lynch.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Can I have a motion to approve the minutes from the special meeting on December 20th, 2022?
Make that motion.
Motion made by Councilman Rizzuto. Second.
I'll make a second.
Second made by Council Vice President Bucieri. Please call the roll.
Vice President Bucieri,
Yes.
Councilmember Rizzuto,
Yes.
Councilmember Sparta,
Abstain.
Councilmember Tadrick,
Yes.
Council President Lynch.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Okay, right now we have an appointment to the Land Use Board. The council member, Tadrick, will you please stand up to be sworn in? Do you get sworn in or just we
They'll
No.
swear him in at the land use.
at,
board.
at the Land Use
Well,
Board?
they want me to, somebody to swear me in here at the end of the meeting,
Oh, okay.
so we're good.
Okay.
Want to do that now or?
We do it after the meeting.
Okay. Joe Tadrick is a valued member of the Land Use Board. He was, how long were you on, Joe?
Combination of 30 years.
Almost 30 years of service to the Land Use Board, and I think I think you're perfect person for the job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, for the consent agenda. Resolution 2301. Settlement agreement and I'm sorry, I should have, can I have a motion to accept Councilmember Joseph Tadrick as the council?
Moved.
Motion made by. Motion made by Council.
I'll second.
Okay. Councilman Rizzuto. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Sorry about that.
Motion carries.
Then we passed here.
Okay, consent agenda. Resolution 2301. The settlement agreement and general release between the Township of Vernon and Joseph Wallace. Resolution 2335, a resolution authorizing and ratifying a memorandum of understanding with the National Winter Activity Center for use of the municipal parking lot. Resolution 2336, authorizing the municipal tax assessor and the special municipal attorney to defend the township before the Suffolk County Board of Taxation for tax appeals. Resolution 2337, resolution of the Township of Vernon, County of Sussex, State of New Jersey, granting the authority for approval of certain purchases in excess of the bid threshold through New Jersey state contracts and/or purchasing cooperatives for 2023. Resolution 2338, granting the authority for approval of certain purchases through New Jersey state contracts and/or purchasing cooperatives for 2023. Resolution 2339, a resolution authorizing fireworks to be displayed on February 6, 2023 within the Township of Vernon. Resolution 2340, resolution authorizing the award of a required disclosure contract with the LawSoft Incorporated for police records management systems, FireCAD software. Resolution 2341, authorizing the mayor and the municipal clerk to sign an agreement with the County of Sussex for nutrition site premises for senior citizens. Resolution 2342, authorizing the award of a required disclosure contract for jet vac repair. Resolution 2343, a resolution authorizing leasing of certain vehicles for the Department of Fire Prevention through Sourcewell National Cooperative, number 06018 EFM through Enterprise Fleet Management Services, quote number 6942206, one diamond white. Is there any of these resolutions that need to be separated from the consent agenda? Okay, at this time, I'd like a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Moved.
Motion made by Council Vice President Bucieri. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second made by Council Member Rizzuto. Can you please call the roll?
President Bucieri,
Yes.
Councilmember Rizzuto,
Yes.
Councilmember Sparta,
Yes.
Councilmember Tadrick,
Yes.
Council President Lynch.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, I have introduction of ordinances. Ordinance 2301, calendar year 2023, ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank. NJSA 40A 4-45.14. Can I have a motion to accept, to introduce 2301?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Council Vice President Bucieri. Can I have a second?
Second.
Councilmember Rizzuto seconds it. Please call the roll.
Vice President Bucieri,
Yes.
Councilmember Rizzuto,
Yes.
Councilmember Sparta,
Yes.
Councilmember Tadrick,
Yes.
Council President Lynch.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Ordinance 2302, an ordinance of the Township of Vernon, County of Sussex, State of New Jersey, vacating a portion of the paper street known as Road B in the Township of Vernon. May I have a motion to introduce ordinance 23-02? Moved. Motion made by Councilmember Sparta. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Rizzuto. Please call the roll.
Vice President Bucieri,
Yes.
Councilmember Rizzuto,
Yes.
Councilmember Sparta,
Yes.
Councilmember Tadrick,
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, at this point, I would,
Council President, can I, before we go to public comments, I have a couple questions like this. People that are here,
okay,
of council and of the CFO. I'll start with CFO, just three simple questions. When's the reorganization meeting for the MUA?
February, first meeting in February.
What meeting, when is that?
Sorry, hold on. It's the third Thursday of the month, so
Okay,
the 16th. I was gonna say the 15th. It's the 16th.
that was easy enough. It might be a little harder. Average ballpark average pay of a DPW worker,
An average pay,
hourly.
I would need to get that for you.
Okay,
Sorry.
that's okay. Now, that just goes with the papers that we were sent about the cost of the project.
The cost of what project?
The, pump track and the walking trail.
Okay. Mhm.
There's an amount there, but it doesn't say hourly rate, so there's no
Okay.
kind of that. And do you know what?
The backup for that, if you, I can just forward that to council.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yep.
That's fine. It's not real important. Just wonder, any other questions? Do you know the current fund balance of the open space fund?
The current one,
Yeah, whatever.
I need to double check that. And we're closing the book, so I'm.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I was just curious. For council, I've got three question night. This is pretty basic stuff. To modify a resolution, 3 votes is enough?
Any resolution?
Any resolution?
Generally speaking, you can pass a resolution with 3 votes.
How about an ordinance?
Okay, now how about an ordinance or modifying an ordinance?
Well, if you're, an existing ordinance is part of the municipal code, so if you're gonna amend that ordinance, unless it's a bond ordinance, off the top of my head, I would say you need a majority. Certain bond ordinances require supermajority. To override the mayor's veto requires a supermajority as well.
Okay, and this one I'm kind of springing on you. I don't know if you're familiar with the act that was voted on about open space spending, open space money. I've got it. I've got the actual write-up, if that helps. I'm just looking
Is
for.
this the
interpretation.
referendum
Yes,
that went to referendum?
Right.
I'm familiar with it.
okay.
I don't have it memorized and you can
I'm
ask
just
your,
looking for an interpretation of it, basically.
in what way?
In a way that we have a fund balance,
Mhm.
right? So can that fund balance be used for projects that we choose, as long as they meet the criteria in that referendum?
You have to check on the referendum, but I will look at it and get back there.
We shouldn't have to re-vote on that, or the public shouldn't have to re-vote, correct?
I just have to look at, see what the language says.
I got it.
I understand, but I'm still gonna look at it and.
I got it right here. I got it right here. You can take a look at it. You can save it.
Quite all right. I will save it, consider it and get back to everyone.
Yeah, because I'm interested specifically in that 30% rule. Is that based on the figure that at the time of the referendum, or is that a sending balance rule? And I would think it's already been voted on for that max amount. No more money was put into that fund, so I wouldn't think you'd have to go back to the ballot. But I'm not.
A lot of unknowns in those questions. So
Yes, there are.
let me get back to you.
No problem. That's all I got. Thanks.
Council President, if I
Yes.
could, I just want to build on something that Councilmember Todrick asked. Council, if an ordinance passed 3-2 and then is vetoed by the mayor,
Yep.
be revisited by the council again?
The council, there are certain procedures within the state statutes that require the council to act within a certain time period to override the mayor's veto.
Okay, thank you. And that has to be 4-1 vote or
Supermajority.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, at this time, I'd like to have a motion. Open the floor to public comments on any topic. You have 5 minutes to speak. May I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Council Vice President Bucieri. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Sparta. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, anybody like to speak? Come forward. Okay, anybody in the skybox?
I have Thomas McClackery.
Mr. McClackery.
Yes, sir. Nothing much. I heard you're playing with the bylaws of the council, and I'd like to suggest perhaps that you would require a supermajority for any bond or ordinance, passage of, not repeal. So what I'm saying there, to pass that bond ordinance, a supermajority. And the reason why I say that, as you know, over the last 3 decades, I've been coming down there and saying that anything over $1 million ought to be put before the voters. I still stand with that, but maybe we can finesse it a little bit with a supermajority. What that would do would be to give all the council members a little bit more power in saying what is or is not going to be passed. And the second thing I have is, am I the only one that got flummoxed by that number that you put up there for the webinar that was fake? Well, not fake, it was incorrect. And then I had to go back and get a new number.
Yes, it was a internal mistake that we fixed. And I apologize that you had to go back.
Yeah, no, the number I had was off the agenda. It was 864-8904-1843. I don't know, I kept putting that in, it kept coming up invalid. Then I went back to the agenda and the number had changed. So I put that number in and I got, actually, I didn't put a number in, I just clicked on it and got in. Just a flummox, took about 5 or 10 minutes to figure out what was going on. Not unusual with me. It takes about 2 or 3 minutes to figure out how a light switch works, but I figured I'd bring it up. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Anyone else, Marcy?
I don't see any other hands up.
Can I have a motion to close the floor to public comment?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Council Vice President Bucieri. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Sparta. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, mayor's comments.
Thank you, Council President Lynch. On the first day of this year, Vernon lost an outstanding civic servant and a good citizen. And quite frankly, I lost a good friend. I speak of the passing from this life of former Vernon Chief of Police, Mr. Roy Weary. The fact that Roy was an outstanding civic servant and a good citizen is something that's well known. His role as part of the original 11 members of the Vernon Police Department, which was formed in 1975. His performance in that department, which led to his rise to the select position of Chief of Police. His leadership as the Director of Vernon's Office of Emergency Management, and his membership on the Highland Lakes Fire Department and Ambulance Squad all attest to his outstanding civic service and the time and commitment that he gave to the town that he loved. And on tonight, I take a limited portion of my mayor's comments to honor the memory of Roy Weary by briefly sharing with you the nature of my special relationship with this good man. My relationship with Roy began during the first time that I served on the Vernon Town Council. That was in the year 2000. It was during that year that Vernon's Chief of Police, Ken Johnson, decided to retire. Under the form of government that Vernon operated at that time, I served as the council's liaison for Vernon Police Department, a position that the council called Police Commissioner. In that position, I was charged with the task of interviewing and screening the candidates who desired to replace Ken Johnson as Vernon's new Chief of Police, and then recommending to the full council the individual that we as a collective group should select. It was during the times of these interviews, plus my other acts of due diligence, that I learned about the high quality of police officer and the very high quality of character that existed in the form of Roy Weary. The council accepted my recommendation that we select Roy Weary to be Vernon's next Chief of Police. And the rest is a positive part of history of Vernon's Police Department and Vernon Township as a whole. While over the years, our relationship, Roy did not agree with me on every political issue that we discussed. And he quite frankly told me so. However, our relationship developed into a strong friendship, due in great part to the fact that we bonded over our status as military veterans and over our frequent talks about our love for our town and our country. These talks caused our friendship to thrive and to grow stronger as the years passed. The last time I talked to Roy was when he came to my office in November, and we discussed the Marine Corps Reserve Toys for Tots program, a program which collects and distributes toys to children whose parents cannot afford to buy them gifts for Christmas. Like so many other good and worthy causes, Roy, who served our nation as an active duty U.S. Marine, was involved in this Marine Corps Reserve program. It is said that a successful life is getting what you want, while a happy life is liking what you get. If measured by this standard, I believe that Roy had both a successful and a happy life. Because first, he wanted to serve as a Vernon police officer and did so for 38 years. Roy got what he wanted. And second, I am told that he so much what he got until he stayed on the job until 11:59 p.m. on his last day of work, and only then left with tears in his eyes. Roy earned and deserved all the success and happiness that he received in life. And I say at this time, enjoy your eternal rest, my friend, because I and Vernon will miss you. I'll just have one other portion of my comments. On tonight, I will make 3 additional appointments to the Municipal Economic Development Advisory Committee. These are appointments that I had hoped to make at the January 1 council reorganization meeting, but did not do so because at the time I had not received the municipal volunteer applications that I required before I consider anyone for any appointment. The first 2 additional appointments are those of 2 members who served as the chair and vice chair of the committee during 2022. The first is Ms. Jennifer Loveliner. Ms. Loveliner has served our town on the Municipal Economic Development Advisory Committee since the year 2020. And the high regard that her fellow committee members have for her is reflected in their election of her to serve as committee chairperson during 2021 and 2022. I'm very pleased that she has volunteered to continue her service to our town, which will enable our municipality to continue to benefit from her management experience in leading teams and building relationships between the municipality's various boards, committees, and commissions, all with the goal of embracing the economic development of our town. The second appointment that I'll make is Dr. Nicholas Pirro. Dr. Pirro has also served our town on the Municipal Economic Development Advisory Committee since the year 2020. And his fellow committee members also elected him to serve as vice chairperson during 2021 and 2022. I'm equally pleased that he has also volunteered to continue his service to our town, which will enable our municipality to continue to benefit from his demonstrated abilities to move forward projects aimed at the betterment of the economic environment of our town. My third and final appointment will be a new member to our Municipal Economic Development Advisory Committee, Mr. Jason Pierce. I first met Mr. Pierce at one of our several municipal grand opening ribbon cutting ceremonies at which I officiated during last year. He is the owner of the local Vernon establishment, Pierce Photography, and has expressed a desire to use his visual marketing experience in support of the Municipal Economic Development Advisory Committee efforts. This appointment provides him that opportunity. It is my hope and belief that these 3 new appointments will join with those appointments that I made at the January 1st council reorganization meeting to help in the ongoing rejuvenation of our Municipal Economic Development Advisory Committee. Council President Lynch, that ends my comments for tonight. Thank you, sir.
Very much, Mr. Mayor. Okay, we're going to go to council comments at this point. I would like to start off with Council Member Rizzuto. Thank you again for your leadership last year, so.
Thank you very much. At our recent reorganization meeting, during my comments, I mentioned the council's desire to construct the band shell as a unity project on the Great Lawn at Maple Grange Park, which would be dedicated to and named the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Band Shell. In my comments, I also mentioned that I had contacted two individuals who had donated $15,000 towards this project. I purposefully withheld the names of these caring individuals as I did not have permission to mention their names. In discussions with these kind gentlemen, they agreed to have their names listed along with the corporate entity they represent. Further, since that time, another member of our community, Mr. Joe Hessian, recognizing the importance of this project, proudly made a donation as well in the name of Mountain Creek. In total, commitments to this project are stated as Mr. Jeff Kaufman of HMGG, who graciously donated $5,000. Mr. Joseph Hessian of Mountain Creek has also graciously donated $10,000. And Mr. Andy Mulvihill has very graciously donated $10,000. These caring members of our community in total donated $25,000 to this unity project. What is so moving is that each of them, without hesitation, made their donation with essentially the same words to me. Yes, how could I not give something to recognize what these brave men and women have gone through and what they have done to provide a final resting place for their brothers and sisters. Recently, we also have received an offer of the first private donation to this project from a resident, Mr. Peter Knight, in the amount of $200. Mr. Knight's recognition of this project and his stepping forward gives hope to a significant community participation. And hopefully the council will be able to develop and establish a process for all of the residents of Vernon Township to participate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pat. Council Vice President Bucieri.
I don't have any formal comments. I was glad that we were able to introduce these to the Weary family and you know, they are in our prayers. That is great news from Pat, getting those donations, and I hope that we can continue to find alternate sources of funding for the project. I think that would be a great project, but you know, and not being able, putting a burden on the taxpayer would be definitely my goal. I think that's great. Definitely good progress, and it sounds like there's other things cooking in the fire. So I think that's good to hear. And it looks like we might get out of here before 8 o'clock, even though we had technical difficulties.
Well, no, I have some further comments.
Yeah, I
That'll run
Not all
about
this, Mike.
25 minutes.
So
Pat,
that
can you look
note-
at this coffee?
no,
I don't get.
move on down the line.
Councilman Tajer, please.
The only thing, again, wishing everybody a happy new year. My condolences to Roy's family. He wasn't a very good friend of mine. I didn't know him as a friend, but I knew him as a person. I knew him as police chief, and he was to be missed. To follow on to Mr. Rizzuto's comments, I think we're 9 days into this announcement of this project, and we already are rolling pretty quick. I'd like to see the EDAC be involved, school board, Board of Education be involved, since they'd probably be a primary user of this band shell, as well as people like the Rotary, other organizations in town. I think if you really want to make this a unity project, there's a lot of organizations in town that can get behind this, and I'd like to see that happen. Other than that, we're on our way. It's going to happen. I've already heard some rumblings to the negative side, and I personally am not going to pay any attention to them. I don't work that way. So that's all I got.
Thank you. Councilmember Sparta.
Yeah, I was just wondering if the mayor has any update on the business administrator search?
Good point.
Yes, the ad closes tomorrow.
Okay.
And we probably got about 7 applications right now.
Nice.
I will be getting with my 2 acting business administrators. We'll be reviewing those. And I'll be sharing some things with the council.
Okay, great.
The applications range from people with no experience to people with some experience. So we'll see.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Another request I'd like is it possible to have a quarterly update on the ARP money that's been slated for the water in town center? Is that something that we can do on a quarterly basis?
Yes, I can do that. We've only spent it on engineering fees so far.
Okay.
So
Yeah, if we could just, kind of like what we did with the DEP and the sewer people, if we just put that out as a standing report, that would, I think, be helpful to all of us. Also, it was my understanding there was 2 more accidents at the end of Route 517 in the flats this past week. My daughter actually had one there 3 years ago as well. I was wondering if we as a town could somehow encourage the county to do a traffic study there to see what the best solution would be for that. I mean, I wish Chief Young was here. I'm sure he could fill us in on how many accidents happen there a year, and I'm sure it's a fairly large percentage to the people that travel through there. So, I know everybody claims for a light and so on and so forth, and I'm not a traffic person, so I don't know if that's a best case scenario, but I think we need to have the county look into that scene since it is 2 county roads.
I don't think you need to be a traffic person to realize that that's a very, very tough place to be
Intersection,
making
yeah.
turns.
That's down by the Glenwood.
It's
Yeah,
at the corner of
right.
517 in the flats.
I believe there was one there Wednesday and one there on Thursday. And from my understanding, they were both the same incident that happened,
Same.
and actually the same incident that happened to my daughter as well. So if we could, I don't know if that would come from the chief of police or from the mayor or from the council, but could we find out the best?
I'll check.
Yep.
I'll check and see what, yeah.
And lastly, council member, then council president Rosito acted me about the band shell. I offered my support as long as there wasn't any taxpayer money going to it. So council member Rizzuto, I'm going to donate my stipend, annual stipend to the band shell.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have
That's all for me.
one alibi. Ask Miss Bright. Can you assist us in setting up some kind of process that if people want to donate? Because I've had a number of people come to me and say, I want to write a check, I want to write a check. I don't know how to do that. I'm not an accounting person. If there was some way we could do that in town, make it official that it goes to this project. I'm requesting your help. I'll speak for myself on the council.
yeah, the larger donations, I already have a process set up. I've
Right.
spoken with Councilmember Rizzuto about that.
Right, that's the grant process.
Yeah, I'll put.
Yeah, the smaller ones, the hundreds, the tens, the 5, whatever. Because not everybody can give $5,000 or $10,000, but maybe somebody can give 10 or 20 or 30, whatever it happens to be.
Mhm.
And if you could help with that, I appreciate it. Thanks.
Anything else, Councilmember Sparta?
That's all I have.
Okay.
Might I have a comment? Council?
Not kidding.
I understand.
That's Michael.
I understand the issue of wanting to avoid any type of financing on the part of the council, the township. But indeed, there is a definite reason, a financial reason for doing something like this, for using debt financing to handle projects that are going to be in existence for much longer than a normal, let's say, automobile. Okay. The fact that these projects will last for such a period of time, they also afford the opportunity for individuals to be using them that might include the original person who was there when it was developed, subsequent children, subsequent grandchildren. So it becomes a generational consideration. I know when I was on the school board and we developed the financing for the 3 schools that were built while I was on the board, we used as a rule of thumb 30 years because it represented 3 generations. And it was only felt that the individuals who would benefit from using those schools in generation 1 and in generation 2 and in generation 3 should have since they were getting benefit, they should also have, they should be required to pay something towards it. To place all the burden of the initial cost on the shoulders when the actual project is developed is kind of maybe not short-sighted, but I think doesn't allow future generations to experience that. Secondly, there are a number of different ways to do this. You can do this with bonds, bond anticipation notes. Bond anticipations notes you can handle, you can run for 10 years. Those notes become a way of studying the actual bond market so that at some point, if necessary or if you are desirable, you can begin to finalize the cost of the project through bond anticipation notes by changing them over or refinancing and putting them into a regular bond when you feel that that particular interest rate structure is more beneficial. And certainly, thirdly, what we're looking at here, based upon the amount of funding that we're considering, is not going to be as onerous, say, as a multi-million-dollar school or the accumulation of debt by virtue of other particular projects. While I understand your desire to avoid additional, indebtedness, I think we really need to look at the level of indebtedness that the township has vis-a-vis its debt ratio. And you'll find that we stand pretty well. Am I right?
We're better than we were.
We're better than we were. Okay. And so I would only ask that you reconsider that because while doing nothing, prices increase. While doing nothing, people don't get the benefit of doing it. While doing nothing, waiting, people who have donated substantial sums now begin to be questioned or to question, why did I do it so soon? Because now I have the opportunity lost for that particular amount of money. And maybe I should have not done it, or maybe I should ask for it back. So I would just ask you to reconsider your positions on that. And while I can see obviously the benefit of trying to avoid increasing indebtedness, sometimes you need to have indebtedness, some type of debt to drive a growth of a community. You just simply can't do all that needs to be done on the back of current finance. It just doesn't work. I mean, if you were to look at some of the projects that many communities have, just to purchase, for example, of a vacuum, leaf vacuum, you're looking at $250,000 minimum before that particular item can be purchased. So normally something, when it's going to be used for a long period of time, moves into a debt financing situation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just respond to that?
Certainly.
Totally understand what you're saying, and I don't disagree with what you're saying either. When I was campaigning, I was asked many times about amenities, and I'm not against amenities at all. I said they just had to meet 3 criteria for me, one of 3. one was self-funded, two, revenue generating, or three, last but not least, debt. So I'm not against, a debt on it. I prefer not to.
Yeah.
All right, I prefer to have it self-funded. But this will be revenue generating. I'm convinced of that.
I agree.
To other outlets for promotions and stuff like that. So, totally get what you say. I'd like to try Avenue 1 first and see what we can get and then go from there.
I would hope that your thinking on this is moderated by the fact that these gentlemen, these members of Vietnam Veterans Organization have waited so long.
Mhm.
And, councils change, points of views change, administrations change. I think with the mayor who's comes from a Vietnam era, and the fact that all of us have endorsed the project,
Mhm.
that we could move on it and hopefully find a way of handling the financing of this project so as to allow these veterans to see and experience the project while they're all around, because I was around during the Vietnam era. I didn't serve, but I was 79, and there are a lot of my friends who did, and they might not be around in a couple of years. You never know.
Totally understand. And I get what you're saying. One of the valuable things I learned on my time in the Board of Education was compromise. I developed over time, I learned how to compromise compared to when I was on the board the first time. So I don't think it's a bad thing. And I think we can definitely get there.
Thank you.
And the best thing about this is respectful conversation back and forth. And that's what I
Appreciate it.
appreciate the most. Thank you.
I'd like to add one comment. We've talked about this and I understand where you're coming from with this. Again, my preference would be totally self-funded. And again, folks, I just keep reminding you, it's 9 days after you announce this project. We've already got $25,000 in the bank. Depending on how council interprets the open space fund, there's money there that possibly can be used. And there's other options. So I understand the situation you're talking about it. And my concern about any project is people talk about the build of the project and they think that's the end. That's the beginning. Because that project, whether it be the pump track or walking trails or a band shell, whatever, that is going to continue with maintenance and other cascading issues that are going to go on well beyond when the project is complete. And people don't look at that. And I understand the bonding issue, and that would be my choice of last resort. I do understand it. But only 9 days, man. And we already got people like willing to write checks. So that would be great. I think if this was treated as you suggested, as a unity project, and the different groups, the Rotary Club and those guys all got involved, I think this town can do it. I really believe this town can do it.
I would hope so.
And I don't want to raise taxes. I already said that first meeting. That ain't happening for me. So if this involves raising taxes, I wouldn't be for it. But
Anybody else? Okay, in closing my comments, I would just like to say that I would also like to thank Peter Knight for his donation. I think that shows the community spirit that this is headed toward. I am going to be making a donation to this as well. I got to ask Renee how much before I can give you.
we don't accept change.
I did mine because Robin's on a flight right now, so she didn't hear it. So
Like she listens to me.
as soon as I get the okay from the boss, I'll give you some. And I would also like to say that I am so proud to be a part of the emergency services here in Vernon Township for over 35 years. I've been a firefighter for 43 years, and in those times, we've had to bury a lot of our own. And it is a true statement that emergency services takes care of their own. The outpouring of support from both, from all EMS, fire and police who give Roy Weary a great goodbye really meant something. And it meant something to every single one of us who was there. And in closing, I'd like to say Happy New Year to everyone and God's blessing. May I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Council Vice President Bucieri, second. Second by Councilman Rizzuto. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Good night, everyone.
I have to get somebody to
Oh, want me to wait?
do my oath.